Okay, it looks like we are live. Now to get a code for you all. Okay, welcome Albino Thunderbuns. Good morning. How do I sound? Can you hear me okay? My first time doing this, so please bear with me. Hi, Dark Admiral. Okay, can you hear me okay? Do I sound good? Excellent, thank you. How are you all doing this morning? Doing good? Your Saturday doing good? It's 8:52 for me at the moment. For me, that's late. Hi, Sean. You got to work on a Saturday, Dark Admiral? I'm sorry. Well, anyway, the purpose of this chat is basically I wanted to reach out and talk to all of you. It's been a while. I've been off of social media. I have not been able to do an update on Night Editor in a while, and that's really been bugging me. But as you all probably already know, Ishi and I are in the process of moving, and that has completely taken up my December and a little bit of November as well. So I do apologize for lack of content. And unfortunately, that's going to continue while we're in the process of moving. Our moving date is the 13th. So we have a week to get out of here and go to a completely different state. And this is very exciting, but it also makes me sad because, again, I can't put content up. So I figured I would do an experiment and try to do these quick little live chats with everybody, just to reach out and let you all know that I'm still here. I'm also thinking of doing live Night Editor reviews rather than recording them. So I'll be raw and not refined. But I think you all like that, considering how many people really like how much I savage books and Adventures in Awful. So good morning, Andrew. Thank you, Dark Admiral. Yes, yes. Ishi and I are very excited about getting out of the state. California is falling apart, as you all probably already know. And Arizona, I think, is going to be really good for us. So thank you. I'm probably going to be multitasking while I'm chatting with you, but if any of you have any questions, comments, please shoot them out at me. This is basically just me wanting to chat. Whoops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bump the microphone. It's just me wanting to chat with all of you. The reason why I have my avatar up is I'm actually going to be multitasking and doing some packing while I chat with all of you. And unless you think that that's really riveting viewing, I thought the avatar would be better, but I can turn the camera on if you would like. Is it true about the water conservation law where you get fined for doing laundry and taking a shower in the same day? From everything I've been seeing, yes. This completely blindsided a lot of people. Now, they claim that if you live in a household of like four or more people, then you get more allowance of water. But California is so fucked when it comes to resource conservation, just in general. I mean, they've been systematically shutting down um, power plants. San Onofre. You all know what San Onofre is. San Onofre is the nuclear power plant by the sea that looks like two gigantic tits. I think a Naked Gun film made a reference to that. They shut that down a couple of years ago for no reason other than if there's less power plants, then they think, oh, then we can shaft people to pay more for their electricity. And then when people actually started reducing that and getting solar or wind, then they started coming up with other reasons to shaft people. Meanwhile, they did not keep up the infrastructure, and that's why we've been having so many fires, is because of how many power lines have been going down and causing these awful fires. So basically, any way California can, ream you on resources, they will. What are you going to miss about California? Well, Andrew, uh, I'm going to miss the weather, but I am a desert creature and I love the heat. And every time I've been out to Arizona, I've absolutely loved it. Sadly, everything that I love about this state is gone. Um, I mean, the I would like to see the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles again, specifically the vault, but and the Air and Space Museum there because a satellite that my dad helped construct is there. But that's a sentimental thing. There's really nothing about the state in general that I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss um, my mother and my stepdad, and I'm going to miss my friends Ahimu and Rory. But that's it. There's really nothing here that is keeping me tied down. And that's sad considering the job that I'm leaving. I've been there for 14 years. And yes, I have had incredible job satisfaction working there. I've been working with victims of crime, helping them to get their lives back together. But I'm not broken up about missing it. So this is really exciting for me. I feel like I'm being freed from a bunch of baggage that I've piled on myself for the last few years. I heard you can't have rain barrels. That is true, Dark Admiral. You cannot have rain barrels in California. Isn't that stupid? They will fine you if you do have rain barrels to collect rainwater because they want you to use their water system. My in-laws were planning on getting a rain barrel for exactly that reason, and then found out, no, you're going to get dinked hard if you do it. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Uh, Albino Thunderbun says, different state, bummer. I wanted to meet you guys again soon. My wife's cancer diagnosis and treatment changed everything for us the last few months, but my publishing plans are back on track. Oh, I'm so sorry about your wife. I'm glad that she is getting treatment, and I really hope for a speedy recovery. My father just got over his second bout of lung cancer, so I know how that is. So I wish you the best for you and your wife. And let's see, we are here for another week. I don't know if we'd be able to meet up. Things are kind of tight, but you can always reach out to us. Both Ishi and I would be happy to chat with you about your publishing plans for the future. So do not hesitate. Either just one on one, us just chatting, or you can submit it to Night Editor, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Please forgive me if you're hearing weird noises like that. I have my computer on a cardboard box. I found it's the best tray for holding this thing. So anybody else have any questions at all? Otherwise, I'm probably just going to rant. Yeah, riveting, I know. Okay. Whoops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay, I'm just sharing this link again, telling people that, hey, I'm chatting. So I am on live. Come join me. And send. I'm not expecting too many people to hop into the chat. I mean, it's Saturday. People want to spend it with their families or things like that. Again, everybody hear me okay? I sound good? Okay, well, let's talk about something interesting, unless somebody has any questions at all. There's been a Night Editor that I've been wanting to do for, God, since September, actually. This has been a plan to put this up for October. And yeah, I actually, in September, besides going and visiting my father in Virginia, I had to go to Tucson for an interview. That didn't work out. That's okay. But that derailed those plans, and then just the last 4 months have been incredibly weird for me. But anyway, so I figured I would do a quick Night Editor for all of you. I will do a polished version of this for the show. I still have plans to do that, but I want to get this out there and get talking about this, and because it has been burning in me to get this out. So you're going to get the raw, unedited version of this Night Editor. And that is the question of character. And what I mean by character is, how do you do I'm sorry, albino Thunderbuns. Let's see. Oh, she's cancer free now. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Yeah, I understand that chemo is extremely hard on the body, and so that's great that she's doing the preventative things that hopefully this will never come back. My father has found that Ensure is the only thing that he could keep down when he was doing chemo. I'm sure you all have already gotten your routine down too. But that is wonderful to hear that she is now cancer free. Congratulations. I hope it stays that way forever. I really do. Fuck cancer. I've lost two very good friends before the age of 50. One was in his 20s to fucking cancer. Jamie D from Comic Geek Speak, if anybody remembers Comic Geek Speak back in the aughts, they were one of the premier comic podcasts at the time. They even had their own convention. Jamie D unfortunately passed away due to cancer. And Nicholas Almond, who was a great writer. He had a book published by Oni Press. Look him up. He was a great guy, and it broke my heart when he texted me one day saying he was in the hospital, and then 2 days later I found out he was dead. That's how awful that was. So again, I am so glad that your wife is cancer free, and I hope that she remains that way forever. And yes, please reach out to me. DM me, Albino Thunderbuns. DM me on Twitter, and we will chat, definitely. Okay, so for the raw and unedited, uncut night editor, as I was saying, we are going to be discussing character. What makes a character? What fills out a character? What makes them three-dimensional? Fully formed, somebody that you may not even like, but you can see them in your mind's eye as a real person, as opposed to a Mary Sue, a cardboard cutout, uh, just a placeholder or a thing for the story to continue. I know I've talked about characters before, but I have the perfect example of the difference between a well thought out, well developed character and one that is not. And the two main characters are from the same book. The story is told with these two main characters running parallel to each other, where the author does a lot of comparisons back and forth. And I couldn't believe it. It was the best example I have ever come across of what's a good character and what's not. Now, I must preface this because I know some people really like this book. This is not a critique of the book. I did enjoy the book, okay? So don't flog me. Please don't flog me for this. But I find it very important that I bring this up. And it's if you are a writer and you want to know what to do and what not to do, this book is perfect for that. And that is Necroscope by Brian. Shoot, what's his last name? Let me look it up real quick. Thank you, Google. Brian Lumley. Necroscope by Brian Lumley. And yes, please, if you've read this book and you like this book, I'm not saying the book is bad, okay? I'm really not. I had a lot of people who were telling me how this was like one of those books that was like the bestest ever and like their favorite that they always reached for. And I'm not bashing the book. It's just his character development is the perfect example of what to do and what not to do for a character. So to sum up, for those of you who may not know, in Necroscope, yeah, I'm going to be spoiling this. I'm sorry. So if you haven't read the book yet, I'm spoiling it. You might not want to listen to me talk, but I can't do this breakdown without the spoilers. So please forgive me. And my foot is asleep. Again, if people actually want to see what I look like, please let me know. I'm sitting on the floor next to a closet at the moment. Riveting, I know. So just let me know if you would rather see that and actually see me talk rather than my avatar. Okay, so in Necroscope, you have two main characters, Harry Keogh and Boris Dragazani. And both of them can talk to the dead. Both of them work for secret agencies for their respective governments. Harry works for MI6 and Dragazani works for the KGB. Sorry, I was just reading the chats. So like I said, both of them talk to the dead. Both of them use their talents in their own ways to fulfill their own goals. And I hesitate with that because I will be explaining things in a bit about that. But with that said, also, both of them are essentially orphans. Both of them grew up in orphanages. Both of them were treated horribly by society or just people in general. And both of them are looking for their place in the world. So that's great, right? That's this great dichotomy between this Russian, actually he's a Romanian, and this English kid. Here's the problem, though. Dragazani, and this is where I'm going to get into spoilers. Dragazani's ability to speak to the dead has got to be one of the best and most creative things I have ever read when it comes to mediumship and, again, speaking to those who have passed on. His process is very visceral, very tactile, and very much so in the vein of not sympathetic magic. What's the term I'm looking for? Basically, he has to go through a mental cleansing process. He has to fast. He can't. He's a virgin. He hasn't had sex because he doesn't want that distraction. It's a very involved process for him to be able to speak to the dead. And then when he does, he has to basically take them into him. It's very much like sin eaters, or I know that there are various tribes where in order to commune with the ancestors, or they think to take on the wisdom of the ancestors, you have to eat the dead. And that is what he does. And it's violent. It's hard on him. It's hard on the dead people that he talks to this way. He sometimes loses himself in the person that he's speaking with. And so his powers are not easy. They don't come easy. But yet he knows that they will help him to achieve his goals. And one of his goals is that he wants to find out who he is and where he came from. And hi, Dark Admiral. And it takes him. He eventually finds out where his family came from in Romania, and he makes this Faustian pact with this creature that's been around for hundreds of years. And he knows the creature is trying to control him, but he thinks that he can control the creature. And it's this cat and mouse back and forth. And every time the creature asks for a little bit, Dragazani asks for a little bit. And it's this constant one-upmanship. And he's even questioning whether or not the deal that he's made with this creature is even benefiting him, or if he is being played and he's getting the short end of the stick, especially when the creature starts possessing him. And so the story really develops into him trying to find himself and try to develop himself. And in the end, I'll admit I don't really like the ending of this book. I think it's it strikes me as, oh shit, I painted myself into a corner. And I'll get into that in a bit. But the story arc overall of him trying to find who he is, and he winds up losing his humanity in order to gain what he thinks is the power that he wants. And that is a story arc I can get behind. That is a beautiful story arc, because you have character development, you have character growth, you have a character that's being brought to the brink of losing himself and his struggle to regain who he is. And even then, he may still have lost himself. That is a beautiful story arc. So I was riveted every time the story would flip over to Dragazani. Harry Keogh. Harry Keogh is not a character. Harry Keogh is a catalyst for things to happen. Harry Keogh did not struggle for anything in his life. Harry Keogh did not earn anything. And what do I mean by that? Well, it starts off with Harry is in an orphanage, just like Dragazani. The only difference is that his mother was killed by his stepfather, and stepfather threw him in the orphanage because he didn't want to take care of him. Okay, you know what? That's a great way to start a character. But Then Harry starts excelling in school, specifically in the realm of mathematics, but in all aspects of school. And they all think that he's a savant. And what it really is where Dragazani's ability to talk to the dead is very visceral and very violent and requires personal sacrifice in order to do this. Harry just talks to the dead like you talk to somebody on the phone, or like I'm talking to you right now. Um, and he's been doing that ever since he was a child. So, when he needed an essay to be written, he'd just channel a brilliant essayist to write his paper for him. When he went into mathematics, because the old headmaster of the mathematics department of the school was buried right across the street from the school, he just channeled the old mathematics professor. And everybody went, "Oh my God, Harry's a fucking genius." And that was his entire life, was everything just came to him. It's like, oh my God, he's a genius. No, he's not. He's channeling dead people to do the work for him. He becomes known as a famous author. Why? Because he's channeling famous authors who never got to finish some of their works, and they're doing it through him, literal ghostwriters, and Harry slaps his name on it and gets all the credit. That's not earning it. That's just giving it. That's just being given it. He marries his high school sweetheart, and though she's weirded out by the fact that his personality changes occasionally, she doesn't seem to mind because, man, he's making a shit ton of money, and she's happy about that. It's there's no substance to Harry. Harry is he's not a character. Other people do things through him, and he is happy to reap the benefits and doesn't see any problem with the fact that he's not a person. And then later you get the obvious conflict of, okay, he's going to take revenge on his stepfather. From the onset of the story that that's going to have to happen. But there again, it's not his conflict. He shows up, gets his stepdad to go ice skating with him on the same river that his mother drowned on. And then he channels a martial arts expert, an Olympic skater, and a survivalist to basically do the dirty deed for him. And then finally, the ghost of his mother shows up and deals the killing blow to his stepdad. He himself didn't earn that. And then he's given this position of MI6. This guy just shows up and says, "Hi, we know you can talk to the dead. Want to join us?" And Harry says, "Sure." And he joins MI6, and that's it. And this is where the story tipped the goofy meter for me. And again, spoiler alerts. For reasons I really don't know, and I didn't read any of the other books. But for reasons, he decides to go speak with the mathematician Mobius, who just gives to him. He does nothing to earn it. He just gives to him the secrets of fucking time. If you're into Doctor Who, it's basically like being gifted the fucking Eye of Harmony to, without the TARDIS to channel it. Is Brian Lumley a new writer? No, Brian Lumley is he's from the 70s. Do you think if not, do you think the Romanian is his favorite character and he didn't care enough about Harry to write him well? That's a very good question, and that was something I've been trying to figure out because Dragazani was written so well, but then when you get to the end, I figured Dragazani would continue through the other books. But again, spoiler alert, Harry, because he now knows the secrets of fucking time and space, traps Dragazani in a time loop where he relives the same 2 weeks over and over and over again. And he's just trapped there in that time loop. It's like, well, that's stupid. Why did you spend so much time going through this struggle of this character, building him up, having him fight for what he thinks is important, just to put him in a time loop? I mean, that's lame. Really, the impression that I got was that Brian Lumley did want to do more with Harry Keogh, but Harry Keogh borders on the Mary Sue. He is so not a character, but yet he is the bestest at everything ever. He can do no wrong. He's rich. He's got all these friends who are dead. He has access to all of this limitless power, and then he basically becomes a fucking god. And that's the first book in a series of 3, I think. Again, I don't know what happens in the other 2, but I honestly don't know if Lumley preferred Dragazani or not. I honestly think he preferred Harry. It's just Dragazani, I think, was a lot more fun to write. And what can you build on a Mary Sue other than to give them flaws and make them not perfect anymore? Yes, rich dead friends. Yes, story time, rich dead friends. So it is, I always feel whenever I do these critiques that if I am going to say this is what's wrong with something, it's my duty to try to figure out a way to fix it. Because if I can't fix it, either it's just a personal opinion or it's really that broken. And this is how you do it. You do everything that I just said. Everything comes easy to Harry. The dead are channeling through him, and they're living out the things that they wanted to do when they were alive. But you build the fact that Harry is basically just this vessel. He is emotionally stunted, like Tommy from The Who, where he's emotionally stunted because of the fact that he saw his stepfather kill his stepfather kill his mother. And as a result, he is happy to allow other people to live through him because him living himself is just too damn painful. And have him build in his 20s and 30s to an existential crisis where he realizes he's not a person. And he realizes that how he has to find himself, just like how Dragazani is on this search for finding himself, is that he needs to confront his stepfather. And he needs to do it on his own without his ghostly friends. And he does it, and it ultimately culminates in a fight to the death. And once he has done the deed, nobody helps him. He himself has done the deed. It's like he's being reborn. Just like with how Dragazani, when he makes his Faustian pact with the creature does have a name. I just can't remember what its name is. He kind of feels like he's reborn. But with him, it's the opposite. It's because the creature is starting to take control of him and possess him. Where in this way, Harry he had been possessed by so many different ghosts and so many different people that when he does this deed, he finds himself without all of those ghostly friends. And that's how you create a character arc. I'd still say get rid of the fucking Mobius thing, but I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why Lumley put that in there. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to do a more refined version of this rant, but this is something that I had to get out there and I had to talk about, and it's just been bugging me that I've had this in my notebook since September. I had planned on it being my October episode because Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. The creature that Dragazani uh, befriends, not only can both men talk to the dead, but the creature that he befriends is this weird parasite that mimics what we would call vampirism. And so you got vampires, you got ghosts, you got possession, you've got all this stuff. It'd be the perfect story for Halloween. And I couldn't get it done in time. So uh, you all got a sneak peek. Uh, so, any comments, any questions on what I just shared? Uh, Sean says, "Is it portrayed?" Please forgive me, guys, if you asked a question and I didn't see it before. I'm trying to get through them. Is it portrayed as? Is it portrayed as him having an exploitive personality and that's his failing, or is it like, yeah, this guy is cool? If you mean Harry, it's the yeah, this guy is cool. It's the you know, wow, 2 plus 2. I can't do this problem. I'll help you, Harry. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really what it was. It was just Harry would just go up to ghosts and say hi, and they were just so fucking thrilled that a human could, the living person could talk to them, that they would do anything for him if he asked. And then they'd say, "Hey, can I like finish out my book through you, and then you can profit off of it?" "Sure." "Hey, I had this painting I was working on. Can I finish it and then you can sell it and you can profit off of it?" "Sure." It was just too easy, just way too easy. Harry was never developed as a person, and yet he is presented as if he is a fully rendered character, and that's another reason why I do think that Harry might have been a stand-in for Lumley, is because uh, he didn't think that he had to explain much about Harry because it's already in his head. Albino Thunderbuns. I have the same view towards editing, Kat, and it's one of my favorite things you do when analyzing writing. If I point out a problem with a character or story, I offer potential solutions and improvements. Exactly. I'm glad that you do that too. Because the other thing about doing that I found is the person I may be editing for might not agree with my solutions, but when I if I say this is something that's wrong and here's a suggestion on how to improve it, it tends to give them an idea of what I'm thinking. And quite frankly, most of the time they don't take my suggestion, but that's okay. You don't have to. It's using my example of what I think can fix it to figure out on your own, oh, if that's what the reader is getting, then this is what I need to do to get to where I want. And a lot of writers really find that useful. Um, so there's my rant about Necroscope by Brian Lumley. I do suggest that you read it because it is a very good read. I was riveted through 80% of the book. I again did not agree. Sorry about that. My what you're hearing is the fact that I think the toilet has a slight leak. So I do apologize for that sound. Let's wait for it to stop. In case you didn't hear before, I am currently sitting next to my closet near the bathroom because I had ideas that I would be chatting with you and packing at the same time, and I apparently suck at multitasking. So, can I channel you to read it for me? Sure. Actually, I did it as an audio. The audio that Audible has was really, really good. It sucks. I don't have time to read anymore, to actually like sit down with a book and read pages. Um, it's kind of annoying, but hey, we're all busy people and we do what we can. And Audible is a wonderful service. And especially now that you can return things that suck. Oh man, I should do an episode on books that I've returned because I'll reach that threshold where i- if I can't get through the first act, well, okay, I'll give them through the first act, but if by the second act things are not good, then I will return it. And there was one book that I read where I was really enjoying it. I was super enjoying this book. Um, it was called Initiate. I cannot tell you who wrote it, but it's sci-fi. Um, ex-con gets indoctrinated into a school of badassery like Naruto, where you become a super awesome tech ninja, spy, mercenary, whatever you want to go into. And then the school hires you out to different corporations. Sounds like an awesome Cyberpunk 2020 game, doesn't it? Uh, and the writing, though not the best, was fun, and there was tons of quips and sarcasm, and yeah, I was just really enjoying this book. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, when's the second act gonna start? Yeah, and I really started wondering, when is the second act going to start? We're still in the um, this is how the world works phase. The plot to the actual story hadn't started yet. And so this is Audible. It's since it's an audio. I checked to see how much longer I had on the book, because if you have a book that's like 20 hours and you're in by like 4 or 5, okay, you're still in the first act. It's a slow burn. I can get that. But this book was 8 hours long and I was in hour 6. So 3/4 of the book was already done and the first act hadn't finished yet. I immediately returned it because that was a waste of time. And it pisses me off too because I was enjoying the book. But if all you're going to do is just show me how clever you are with your world building and not actually deliver a story, I'm done. And I kind of feel cheated because that was 6 hours of my life that I'm not going to get back. Uh, books I've returned, a sister show to Adventures in Awful. I don't know about that being a sister show, but it would definitely be a segment. I can definitely do that as a segment. Another show I plan on doing eventually is everything that is wrong with the book Soul Storm. You may have heard me mention it previously. I put that down as being the absolute worst book I have ever read in my entire life. On Audible, I tend not to do bad reviews. I mean, I'll mark the stars, but I won't actually write a bad review. I was moved to write a review because this book was so fucking awful. Um, okay, I'll go ahead and rant about it for a little bit. Um, Soulstorm was promoted as being another Hell House. And if you've read Richard Matheson's Hell House, you know what I'm talking about. That has to be one of my favorite books. I have read it 4 times. And every time I read it, I get something new out of it, and it still creeps me out. And I love the film with Roddy McDowall. Um, that is probably the best haunted house book I have ever read. Highly recommended if you haven't done so yet. And Soulstorm was touted to be like Hill House. And I was really in the mood for a haunted house book. So, sure, I'm not looking for something as good as Hell House. I just wanted something fun and entertaining that involved ghosts. And so you have your group of paranormal investigators, and they go into the house, and they have encounters in the kitchen, and ooh, the rooms are spooky and whatever. Uh, Sorry, I'm trying to put to words how the first act of the book started off good. The second act of the book, um, you're getting House on Haunted Hill type stuff. Things are happening in the pantry. Like I said, things are happening in the kitchen. There's spookiness, and then actual like ghosts start showing up. And first, it's just people. Just ghosts of people that have died. Some of them not actually died in the house, but just died. And they're talking to each other, and it kind of reminded me of uh, the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland, if you've been on any of those iterations. Now, here comes rails. And I really don't know why. Part of me says maybe I should revisit this book and really break down why. And another part of me is like, yeah, and I could, put 9-inch nails through my hands and, do that. Okay. Uh, One of the main characters is gay and he has his lover at home, which is fine. The haunted house cures him of his gayness. Let me restate that. The haunted house, the house itself, there are entities in the house, there are ghosts in the house, and then the house itself has its own personality. The house cured him of being gay. And what's the first thing you do when you're cured of being gay? You go bang the first available female that happens to be in your group. And they have furious sex over and over and over again. And she even asks him, well, what about your lover back home? And he says, fuck him. I'm fucking you. I mean, and it goes from there. The book goes from there. It goes from curing the guy of his gayness to a council of doom type thing of the dead involving Napoleon, Stalin, fucking Hitler, Mussolini, what's his name, Genghis Khan, basically every asshole leader in history makes a council of doom in this house. And the plan is that they've turned the house into a death battery where all of the souls of the dead are coming into the house, and they want to use those souls as an army for reasons. And then like all the good leaders show up, like it's, and it turns into this weird death battle. And it was so bad I don't even remember the very final thing. I just know that the house kind of implodes. But oh god, it was so bad. And it's not even like bad in a good way, in a mystery science theater way. No, this was bad. This was really bad. It was very obvious that the writer thought that he was so fucking clever. And I read some of the reviews on Audible, and people were like, "Oh my god, this book is so amazing!" It's like, no, it is not. No, it is fucking not. I do not buy a house curing a guy of his gayness, and like a council of doom led by fucking Hitler wants to create like a ghost army. It's just stupid. You know how much money you could make if you owned this house. if you could control it, that would be cool. But no, this house had minds of its own. Like I said, not only was the house filled with dead people, the house itself had an entity. I mean, like had its own personality, and oh, this book is so stupid. I read the book like 7 years ago, and it has stuck with me on how fucking bad it is. Scared him straight. No, he wasn't even scared straight. That's the thing. He went to bed gay and he woke up straight. And it's just like, I want pussy now. And so he went and found some. I mean, I'm making light of it. I'm making jokes, but you read the book and it's just, what the fuck did I just read? This isn't me blowing smoke, but a book that surprised me was Utopias. What about Utopias surprised you, Dark Admiral? Okay. So there's my rant on Soulstorm. I'll probably a way more polished version of it at some point, but oh god, that book was awful. To be clear, I thought I'd enjoy Utopias, but I thought the case file books would be the be all to end all for me, and I love case file, but I want more Utopias and the ferryman. Hint for Sean. Yeah, hint, hint, Sean. um, for Utopias, Ishii does have plans on continuing that, but Ishii is taking a break from comics right now, and he really wants to develop these books in prose now. So they probably will not be seen as actual graphic novels, but the development will be done. It will be written, and Ishii really likes having illustrated books. So there will still be illustrations. So that's the future of both Utopias and Case File and World War Kaiju. So, okay, the book I'm reading right now has sentient trees sending subspace signals to medieval dog people to teach them how to make gunpowder, and that sounds weirder. What book is that, Sean? That's a. Is this a serious book or is it? That sounds like something out of Hitchhiker's Guide. You know, the Great Cricket Wars. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My poor little rat, Tesso, is having trouble breathing. It's because of all the dust from all the moves. Oh, Sean, I was asking what book it was that you read that has medieval dog people. I mean, A Fire Upon the Deep by Vernon Vinge. Cool. Okay. A Fire Upon the Deep by Vernon Vinge. Again, it sounds like it's like Hitchhiker's Guide. You know, this Douglas Adams type humor. I was curious if it was serious humor, or if it was serious or if it was humorous. I'm actually in the market for a new book to read. I just finished Stephen Fry's book on living in Victorian England, and that was very interesting. It was good to hear that because though I know a lot about Victorian England, it's one of the time periods that my mother is obsessed with. That and the Tudors. This book gave a better perspective on the way people lived, so and what their mindset was, and so it gave some new perspective on certain things that people did during that time period. I am a huge supporter of reading history and reading books from different time periods so that you can understand why people think the way they do. I mean, we can read that people in England were obsessed with uh, family secrets. Oh my God, somebody has a family secret, and we can liken it to modern day with the fact that um, we have social media where everybody airs their dirty laundry constantly, or you have reality TV where gossip is everywhere. And in Victorian England, it was the same thing. They had like 4 newspapers coming out a day, and you got to fill that with stuff. And so they would do basically gossip columns on what all was happening to everybody. And I knew that, but reading this book, it put into perspective how that affected the Victorian, where it was vital that they keep their privacy. And so, quote, family secrets was just them saying, stay out of my fucking business. I don't want to be in the newspaper. And that was interesting. Sean Campbell, it's like a serious thriller set in a Douglas Adams universe. Okay. So, walks the line between Douglas Adams humor and serious. That's cool. Dark Admiral, I'm still interested in whatever Ishiro writes. I read prose also. Very cool. Well, Ishii is currently working on his new novel, Machine Child, which I know he's talked about at length. And I believe he may start sharing some of the images, the artwork he's been getting for it. The spot illustrations are just amazing. So I can't wait to show those off, but that's not up to me. That's up to him. So, okay. Well, we're closing in on the hour mark. And unless you guys have questions for me, I'm kind of running out of things to talk about for right now. Do you have any further questions for me? Sorry, I don't mean for radio silence. I'm just waiting for the chat to update. Well, I think I'm going to close off now, but I wanted to thank you guys for joining me, for chatting with me, for hearing me rant. This has been great, and I think I will do this more often. I think this is good. So thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I will be chatting with you again soon. Take care. Oh, and I should probably do an ending thing. So because we are moving, we've got 2 sales going on for 01 Publishing. If you're interested, on 01publishing.com, we still have our winter sale going on, and we have some copies of books that are shelf worn. When they were returned, they got galumped in the mail. Basically, they are not in a fashion that I would consider worthy to go in a store. But if you don't mind that, and the content is still good, the image, the pages are still good. So if you would like to get yourself a really good deal on some of the 01's books, please DM me on Twitter at cat, KAT _ AIA, and I'll get you hooked up. So again, thank you all very, very much, and I'll be chatting with you again soon.